Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right. I talked to a couple of business owners locally where we're at. One of them is very aware of what the central bank digital currency is, and the other one had no clue. We kind of pondered the thought of how many business owners are aware of the central bank digital currency and how many of them are like the other person, are unaware. After having a discussion with them, they said, well, I'm not going to accept them in my business. And it brought up a good point. So what happens if businesses opt not to use the central bank digital currency? And I said, well, if they're going to move to the central bank digital currency, then that also means they're going to remove our access to cash. They're most likely to take cash away. So what would be the alternative to it? If you're going to be a business owner, this is something you have to think about. So we did kick around the use of gold and silver, of course. And then I told them about these, banknotes that could be made by these companies, like the Berkshire one. They can make the currency. Now, we have already spoken to another group of people about that. But I think we're at the point now where we have to start getting serious about that. If we're going to do this, because the people actually have a blueprint, by the way, and how this works. Essentially what happens is everybody locally uses the one currency, which would be the banknotes. And these banknotes have all the same securities as regular banknotes. New banknotes with gold and silver, which is a smart move. And then they have a blueprint on how they implement it. So the businesses would go about using the local currency. They deal with the bank. And then the bank deals directly with the Fed. And they deal with the central bank digital currency. So how that works out is going to be interesting. But I always tell people, look, I'm the person that's always going to be the what if person. What if this happens? What if that? We have to come together with some kind of agreement, because once it happens, it's going to be too late then. So hopefully we'll have most of the kinks worked out. I think it's going to be impossible to work out all the kinks because we don't know what to expect. And if we're successful in what we're doing, I'm pretty sure that you're going to see the Federal Reserve get involved and start wondering why it is that a town is not using the central bank digital currency. They're going to want to know what is people using as an alternative. I said, don't be surprised if they don't outlaw the use of these companies, outlaw these companies that make banknotes for us. There's all these different things you have to think about. They're going to do everything they can. But if you get enough people doing it and that central bank digital currency crashes, then that's the goal. If enough people around this nation opted out of the central bank digital currency, and trust me, they're going to use everything possible to get people to use them. They're going to give you free money. They're going to tell you about all these great things you get with it. If you go to the central bank digital currency, they're going to do this great, wonderful thing for you. Whatever it takes to get the citizens trapped into the central bank digital currency, that's what you can expect. And that's another thing we had to kick around. So, you got to do what's necessary to be prepared. The alternative banknotes are a solution. We just got to plan it all out. Most people, believe it or not, most business owners are starting to move their money out of the bank. They think it's a great idea. Unfortunately, for our local banks, are Wells Fargo. And so if everybody follows suit, then, those banks are going to be affected because nobody's going to be going in to use them. Now, I don't have any crazy illusions of grandeur, people closing down these banks because everybody's getting out. That's not going to happen. It'd be nice if it did. But there's still older people and younger people that have no clue what's going on. And they're pretty nervous and concerned about this. There's a possibility I might be able to get on our local radio and talk about this because it's really important. So we'll see. I think people should take their money out, like I said, and I wouldn't keep any money in the bank. I said there's a good possibility if your money's out of the bank and you're keeping it in a safe, then all of a sudden it's no good because you go to central bank digital currency, or you have X amount of time before it's expired. You have to go in there and they're going to force you to exchange it for the central bank digital currency. That's why everything should be in precious metals. That's different. Okay, gold gets silver. And as you need the money, you would sell it to get the money that you need month to month. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things we have to take in consideration. But it's not like I'm frustrated about it at all. It's just, your brain gets going a million miles an hour. You have to really think this through. A lot of people are talking about going back to the farmer's market. We used to have one downtown, but for whatever reason, the lady that organized it stopped. We go back to doing that. Flea market, farmer's market. Start meeting with our local farmers and see how we go about buying directly from them without having to go to the stores and stuff like that. The more we reduce the reason to use a central bank digital currency, the better off the entire community is. So that's just something to think about. Before we get started, if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, or any other precious metals for that matter, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. When you purchase over there at Money Metals Exchange, you will now be automatically entered into a chance to get free giveaways. This month, you'll be automatically registered to be one of 3 people who will receive 10 ounces. That's 10 silver eagles each. So head on over to Money Metals, make your purchase, and automatically enter to win. For those of you who are unaware, I do have my own webpage. I can be found at Pimpy's News Network. Over here, I do post videos that I can't post on YouTube without getting in trouble. I also have my own Facebook group called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. So come on over here and join us. It's free to do so. I can also be found over here on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, Odyssey, and now I'm on Rumble. For whatever reasons, my videos are not showing up on my channel yet, but I can be found just by going to the search button and typing in Pimpy's Investment Chat. And my videos will pop up for you to check out. If I get kicked off YouTube or I get suspended on YouTube, you can find me on any other one of these social media platforms. Hey, a quick reminder to everybody, this is a new month, therefore there is new opportunity for you to win 10 free ounces of silver from Money Metals. All you have to do is follow the link down below and make a purchase. You are automatically entered for a chance to win 10 free ounces. All right, cryptos are moving in a positive direction, and so was gold and silver. I was expecting that to happen yesterday. Maybe it's just a lag, whatever you want to call it. But you can see Bitcoin at $28,542. Ethereum is at $1,864. XRP is at 46 cents. Cardano is at 38 cents. Dogecoin is at 7 cents. Hex is at 5 cents. Polygon is at 97 cents. Solana is at $22.02. Polkadot is at $5.68. Litecoin's at $87.87. Shiba, I believe, is at 5099. So Shiba added a zero. You can see the Terra Luna Classic is at 3010, finally going in the right direction. Well, the only token not taking advantage of all the love that's going on out there with crypto is Satama. It is now at 2012. Come on, Satama. They had a good stretch when everybody else was red and they were green every single day. And now I'm not sure what's going on. I found some news, but it wasn't that big of a deal for it to be dropping like this. But again, it is so cheap that just slight changes in the price make it look worse than it is. Or you can take a look at gold. Gold is back up above $2,000, and it did it with a vengeance. It is at $2,017.50 an ounce. Silver is back up at $25.35. It's down 1 cent right now, but so it's nice to see gold and silver going in the right direction. We were expecting this to happen yesterday. It's better late than never. I think a lot of that has to do with the central bank digital currency, as well as all these so-called crises with the banks. Half American banks are potentially insolvent. This is how a credit crunch begins. They're already prepping you for the big crash. All right, that's exactly what's going on right here. This is a manufactured crash. These people plotted this. They're going to do everything they can to push you in the direction they want you to go into. Said the twin crashes of the U.S. commercial real estate and the U.S. bond market have collided with 9 trillion uninsured deposits in the American banking system. Such deposits can vanish in the afternoon in the cyber age. The second and third biggest bank failures in U.S. history have followed in a quick succession. So already the biggest banks are collapsing. And what that does, it puts all the power of our banking and financial institutions into the hand of just a few people. This is planned. There's no need to have all these other banks because you'd be giving people the option to avoid the central bank digital currency. This is why people are taking their money out of the bank. This is why more and more people are going over to Money Metals and other places to buy the precious metals. We're seeing more and more new customers every day. First-time buyers coming in. They'd never bought in their life. Coming in and buying right now. And that's because they're waking up to the truth about what's going on and they just want to protect themselves. We see the decline of the US dollar. We see the incline of gold and silver, as it should be, as I was talking about. So you keep on going down here. It says it's spooky. Thousands of banks are underwater. They're insolvent. So if you have your money in there, you think you're covered by the insurance? You're not. When all these banks really start to fall like dominoes, but if all these banks keep collapsing, the FDIC is going to have to cover all of them. And there's not enough money in the insurance pool to cover everybody. Lynette Zane covered it a few times. I think we have what is this? I think it's either $9 trillion or $9 billion in deposits out there with only $200 million or $300 million to cover it all. That's not enough money. So the best thing you do is get in while the getting is good. Get in there, take your money out while it's still there. Turn around and swap it out for gold and silver. Just go to money metals. A lot of people are. When you need your money, just go sell your gold or your silver, get the cash you need, then put it in the bank, and then pay your bills. So the Fed now is here. Again, the things that they're promising, we got to question. The same with the central bank digital currency. They just throw crap at you, hoping that you just get excited about it. Most people have no clue what they're supposed to be excited for. The Fed is rewriting the U.S. payment system. Here's what that means for us, okay? It says it can take days to transfer money or make payments from your bank account, even as apps like Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle make sure transactions are nearly instant. That's because the federal government has no digital payment system for the entire banking system to utilize in real time, but that's about to change. Why do I care how long it takes my bank to transfer money from one bank to another? As long as I have access to my money right away, then nothing else matters. I don't care. The Federal Reserve plans to launch its own real-time payment system called the FedNow service, and that's this summer. Though FedNow is years behind tech-based private sector competitors, it will be a game changer for transactions in the U.S. It will be the first and only digital instant payment system that is both created and backed by the government. Oh yeah, there you go. I feel good now, don't you? So, no, who cares? I can do transactions right away with my ATM card. It doesn't have to go any faster. It's not like I'm sitting there waiting minutes, hours, or days. I can do it instantaneously. So why do I care? Why should anybody care how long it takes for the money to transfer? It doesn't affect us. But that's what they're using to sell to us. Cross-border payments, money's transferred right away. So I don't need the CBDC for that. As we all know, the FedNow is the beginning stages for the central bank digital currency. When talking about it, Jerome Powell was speaking about cryptocurrencies. He said he doesn't understand why they have any value. There's no reason for them to have value. But said that once the central bank digital currency comes out, it should have an impact on cryptos because people would want to use the central bank digital currency. And why is that? Because Jerome Powell says it is backed and supported by the full faith and credit of the United States. You know the same thing they say about our fiat dollars. They're not saying that it's backed by assets, it's not by gold or silver or any other commodities. It's backed by the good faith. We can rely on the truthfulness and love of our government. You know, just like we do now with all the bickering and all the fighting and nothing gets accomplished. We can trust our government to support this. There's nothing to support the dollars. The dollar literally has no value, none whatsoever. So Jerome Powell wants us to have faith in the central bank digital currency because our government says they promise that it will have value to it. And anybody want to put some money down that as soon as people are transferred into the central bank digital currency, the banks are immediately going to go to negative interest rates. So usually when you have your money in the bank, you get paid interest for your money there. So they add money to your bank. But when it's negative, they take it away. But even worse than that, we have expiring money. Listen to what this article says about expiring money. It says in October 2020, Shenzhen's Luohu district announced a distribution of 10 million digital yuan, 200 digital yuan or $30 US, to about 50,000 people. Oh, gee, how nice. They gave them $30 each. Lucky winners can spend their money at designated shops in Luohu between October 12th and the 18th of 2020. A similar announcement happened in Shenzhen, where registered citizens were to receive money on January the 11th, 2021, and would need to spend it before January 17th, 2021. So you got it on the 11th, and you had to spend it between the 11th and the 17th. So the money is programmable, and it has an expiration date. I told you this was coming. Listen to what they say about this. They're trying to convince citizens that this is a good thing. Look at expiring money, one whose value falls to zero after a specific date, is a potential monetary policy tool. Programmability, a technical feature made possible by digitalization, can accelerate decisions to spend it, making it very effective means for stimulating consumption. So there is no way to save up for retirement. There's no way to become wealthy. There's no generational wealth transfer. There's no way for you to save up for a business. If you don't spend your money, you lose it. This could be very useful for central banks and governments distributing aid to people during severe recessions or events like pandemics or calamities, when higher uncertainty makes people spend less. So instead of you just being smart and spending less, they're going to force you to spend your money. Programmable money is smart money. You see, that's the great thing about having physical gold and silver. There's nothing on it that's going to expire. Nothing whatsoever. If you have to use your central bank digital currency, then use it on the items where you have no other option but to use the CBDC. Everything else, use your gold and silver for. Programmability could be applied to digital cash for all kinds of purpose, including to pay a positive interest rate or change a negative interest rate on cash to set conditions for the transfer of money to a specific type of user or types of goods and services. They've been trying to take our guns away here in the United States now for a long time. And what do you think is going to happen with this programmable money? Well, when you go to use your CBDC and to go buy a gun or get some ammo at your favorite gun spot, it's going to say, I'm sorry, this store is not an approved store for the use of your central bank digital currency. So they're going to circumvent our Constitution by using a programmable digital dollar. It says to automate the transfer of specific values, such as tax payments for each purchase from a merchant, or to ban certain users from access to cash in a way similar to blacklisting. So now that they have your money, if they want to punish you, they can cut off your access to money. Look at this article isn't playing. They're telling you the truth about what's going on. So it's similar to blacklisting. So you can be blacklisted from using your own money. It can facilitate pay per use. For example, for automated payments on rented items. It could facilitate so-called Internet of Things payment. Internet of Things is the new internet. You don't want that. It's 100% monitored. Everything on there is not only monitored, but they decide what can and cannot go on this Internet of Things. I'm not joking. I show people this. So if they want to silence people with opposing opinions, if they want to silence their political opponents, there you go. They can do it. Where smart machines make buying orders and authorize payments when needed, a refrigerator could automatically order milk from a grocer when running low, or a printer tracking toner usage could buy it from Amazon, like how they put the name in here specifically, Amazon. That's because they don't plan on having very many stores, if any, other than Amazon at all. Once it reaches a certain level, digital money can be programmed to settle payments between systems that are exchanged in currency, where payment from one system in a specific currency is conditioned of another payment from the other system in a different currency. This also gives our government the ability to really apply sanctions and punish a country by making sure they don't have access to their money. So it's one thing to sanction them and people find ways to circumvent sanctions, but it's another to stop them access to their currency altogether. And that's exactly what they'll do. You get out of line in the New World Order, you're ass out. In all such cases, payments and transfers of value would be triggered based on preset conditions handled under smart contracts. These are computer programs or transactions protocols that are intended to execute automatically to control or document legal relevant events and actions according to the terms of the contract or agreement. Smart contracts remove the need for trusted intermediators and arbitration, reduce enforcement costs and fraud losses, and lowers the risk of malice or accidental exceptions. In other words, the government's going to be all up in your business. And if you spend a certain amount, it's going to trigger them. And they're going to want to know what the hell you are doing with your money. And I know there's people out there going, well, so what? I got nothing to hide. No big deal. Yeah, you see that now. But when you start noticing that there's an overreach or that they're interfering with something that you're doing, then all of a sudden you're going to care. Programmable money could eventually allow for far-reaching scenarios where the government limits access to scarce resources, applying dynamic fees on the use of, say, electricity or toll rolls based on their usage or carbon emission measures, and attaching pay-per-use systems to houses and cars as discussed by Casey in 2020. Are you paying attention? So they are going to automatically take money out of your account if all of a sudden they feel like everybody's using too much of something. We have an oil scarcity, therefore we're going to apply a carbon tax to you guys. And you're like, don't apply a carbon tax. Well, you don't have a say-so. None whatsoever. And this is the thing about cryptocurrencies. Congratulations, cryptocurrencies. You made this very possible. You see where it says programmable money could eventually allow for far-reaching scenarios where the government limits access to scarce resources. So if you drive too many miles, you're going to have to pay a mileage penalty. If you use too much electricity, you're going to have to pay more because you use more. If you use too much water, oh wow, they're going to penalize you for that. This is why they're creating 15-minute cities. There's no reason for you to go out of your 15-minute cities according to them. That's coming. The second 15-minute city was just launched in the UK. Programming the expiration of money. These are all interesting curiosities, but could expiring money really work? Expiring money would increase both the velocity of money and the overall economic activity. Similar to applying a negative rate to digital cash. See, negative rate to digital cash, that's what banks do. They can also apply a negative interest rate to your bank account. And so the bank starts taking the money away from you, and you're forced to go in there and spend it because you don't want them to take your money away. In practice, a carrying fee on money would encourage people to spend it and thus prevent it from being hoarded. Did you think I was crazy when I said you can't even save it? For notes to keep their face value, Silvio Giselle, an economist writing about money in the early 20th century, proposed a stamp that would be fixed on it weekly and be paid for by the holder. The periodical fee would make money costly to hold and would thus pressure people to spend it quickly. You paying attention? The proposal was successfully implemented during the Depression in the 1930s in the city of Austria, where the depreciating money pushed people to get rid of it by exchanging it in the markets for goods, and thus soon brought the local economy back to prosperity. And that's how they're going to pitch it to people. They're going to explain to you how there's going to be prosperity, everybody is inclusive, everybody's going to be on an even playing field, it's going to sound all kumbaya. But until when? Until you write something bad about the government and then the Internet of Things doesn't allow you to post it, but then they turn around and take, $100 fine out of your money and you can't even stop them from doing that? For people out there that owe money on back taxes, for people out there that owe money on child support, sometimes it's really hard for fathers who owe back money and accruals to pay that off because you're barely making enough money to survive. And sometimes you say, screw this, and you'll skip payments just so you could try to make ends meet. And then eventually you start taking some of your money and it just limits the amount of money you get. Well, there's ways around that and people figure them out, and that's what they do to avoid paying child support. With the central bank digital currency, you're not going to have a choice. Not at all. Because they're just going to take your money. Period. What happens if they want to stop people from drinking alcohol? What happens if they don't allow you to spend your money at the bar? What happens if you can't buy alcohol in a store? For some people, it's good and healthy. Yeah, okay, whatever. That's not their business. That's my business. In the case of expiring money, the penalty for holding it would be even more radical. The money would keep its full value for the predetermined interval after issuance and would decline in value from then onwards. This form of programmable money would set in motion a sequence of spending decisions, since no holder would have reasons to hold it beyond expirations, and would thus raise aggregated demand permanently, all else being equal. See, the demand for the CBDC would be permanent, keeping you and every man, woman, and child in perpetual enslavement. Because in order for you to have any money to pay things off, you have to continue to work. And if you make money and you're trying to save it, you can't do that. Not to mention the fact that you can't spend it on what you want to spend it on. For this money to be acceptable, however, the expiration mechanism should be designed on a resettable timer basis so that while the interval to expiration is fixed for each holder, the clock is set back to zero anytime money passes hands. This would give its new holders the full time intervals before the new expiration date has been set in. So as the money transfers from one person to another, or from one person to the business or business to business, then the money doesn't expire. It automatically resets itself. Gee, that's, I guess what you and your family could do is just keep passing money off to each other over and over and save that way. Expiring money acts differently than quantitative easing. See? There's another form of quantitative easing, through which central banks stimulate the economic activity by purchasing securities and driving interest rates down. Expiring money would not indirectly on aggregated demand via the portfolio rebalancing or the neutral real rate of interest channel discussed by the Bank of England. and would rather impact spending decisions directly by generating a positive wealth effect. The wealth effect would be compounded by the certainty that the additional wealth would vanish if it were unspent before expiration. See what they're saying here? The wealth effect. There is no wealth effect. They want you to spend the money. That's what they're talking about. There's no way for you to save. So this is what I'm talking about, taking your money out of the bank. A lot of people are doing that. They're buying gold and silver. That doesn't have an expiration date on there. And you can decide locally how you want to spend it. The people determine the value of the gold and silver. Anyways, that's just part one. I do have part two to read to you later on. But that's what we have to look forward to, just so you are aware. All right? Anyways, I look forward to your comments down below, and I will get back to you. That's it for now. I'm out.